All right, on the bench today out of a 2020 Ford Explorer with a 3.0, we have the 10-speed transmission. This is actually my first 10-speed that I'll be working on, called a 10R60. All right, so we got 75,000 miles on the clock, and what's going on with this is the transmission was not shifting correctly. I actually didn't road check the car, so I don't know how it was shifting, but it did have two codes present. A 2702 friction element C apply time and 2704 friction element E apply time. All right, so we're going to open this up, see what we find. These do have a common problem, and that is with the CDF clutch drum. And what happens, they've updated the drum since, and I have it, I got it directly from Ford. They've updated the drum since. The sleeve, there's a sleeve in there that turns, or it moves up out of place, and the bottom sealing ring can no longer seal. So you get all kinds of shifting problems, but that is a very, very common issue. So regardless if that is my problem or not, the drum goes in the garbage and it gets changed. Also for this, going to use the fluid, the Mercon, the ULV, the ultra low viscosity fluid. This does have a plastic pan, but it is reusable, separate filter. And we're going to open it up. You know, we're going to basically take the pump out, and then the whole gear train is going to slide out and look and be in a cylinder. It's going to kind of resemble the setup from an 8-speed almost. All right, so I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. I do have, what do I have? I got a valve body. Valve body is very reasonable from Ford, brand new. So I got a valve body. There is a core charge on that. I'm changing the valve body. I think it was maybe $500 to be honest with you. I got the CDF clutch drum, and I also have the cylinder because the F clutch rides on the outside, and I'll show you, it could make some marks where the F clutch rides, and I don't want it to get bound up, so I got that cylinder. I think is $130, and it's the length, you know, the whole length of almost the transmission. So we'll take a look at that. 4 speed sensors in this, but we'll go through everything as we take it apart. All right, so let me get a little closer, and we will start tearing this down. Okay, so first here is the fill. We're going to fill it through here, and it has the little dipstick, kind of like the 6R80. All right, I did drain this as much as I can. So here is the fill and check, and you got your little dipstick here to check the fluid. All right, so now what I want to do is get the pump bolts out. So this way, when the thing is turned off, we have the valve body and the pump out. We can valve body and the pump out. We can just pry that section out. This actually is an off-axis pump. It's gear driven. The gears are behind here. So once we get this out, we're going to actually take the snap ring off of this, pop this out. You can see the gears, but you'll see the other gear which is attached to the pump. But this is a torque 16, I believe. Yeah. I did purchase the ATSG manual on this, and I actually left it at home. I don't have it with me as far as like torque specs and stuff, not 100% sure. But I was watching some videos, doing some research on taking these things apart, identifying speed sensors. Okay. All right, so we have that out now. I'm going to flip this up. There's going to be, you know, I'm going to probably put it, and then we'll put it this way. I gotta, all right, let's flip this thing. Okay, so now we're going to get this protector out, the heat shield. Okay, I'm going to put that back into the rebuild. So now we have the studs. I'm actually just going to mark I mark these with X's so everything goes back correctly. And also what you can do is what I do a lot of. I'm going to take a fast picture of the pan so I can see where all that stuff goes if need be. Okay. All right, so let's get these out first. 13s. All right, next is 8. Pan should come down. All right, so there is our pan gasket. Okay. We got 2 bolts holding the filter in, pretty much one long, one short. We also have start-stop on this. Okay, so we want to get 1 bolt. 2 bolts, long and short again. There we go. Okay. Filter will come off. That's what the filter looks like. Put it in this pan for now. Here. Okay. All right, so what I want to do now, let me see if I can get a little closer up on this. Let me just reposition and try to get a little closer up on this setup before we start taking all this stuff apart. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this tube for the start-stop. I'll take that bolt out. Okay, I'm going to take the tube out. There's going to be an O-ring on the end of that tube right here. Okay, so this we'll put aside. Right, there was also a seal here. All right, so now what we're going to do is remove the 3. Oh, I'm sorry, before we do that, we're going to unplug the start-stop. So this lock, we're going to push back like that, push down on the tab, and slide it out. Okay, now we're going to take the 3 torque 30s out for the start-stop accumulator. All right, this will come out. We're going to put this aside. Okay, so now we're going to disconnect the harness because we're going to pull the valve body off, but we're just going to leave that part of the harness onto the valve body. So we're going to slide this back, and then we're going to push the tab down and slide this out like that. So you kind of push this down and then slide it out. All right, now to get the valve body off, 8mm bolts, and how you know what comes off, there's arrows pointing to each bolt. And if you see an arrow, and also these are more like torque, inverted torque, you know, like torque plus maybe 10 or something. So those don't come out. So all the, like the 8mm, but you can see arrows that will, that hold the valve body to the case. So that, you know, you don't see an arrow on these two stay in, but I got one here. So let's get those bolts out. Okay, so we got one here. We got one here. Here. Okay. One here. 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 the same length. I'm gonna be missing one somewhere. Okay, there it is. Got another one here. Okay, so we're going to lift this whole valve body out and put it aside. Okay, so here is the valve body. And I got a new one from Ford, brand new, so we're going to swap the harness. I'll be swapping the harness over when I put this back together. All right, so it looks pretty busy in here, but let's get the pump. Let's get the pump out. Okay. This will lift right out. Okay, here is one of the gears that drive the pump. And we'll take a look at the others. All right, so the pump we'll put aside. Okay. Now we got a pretty busy setup here. And before we get into that, I'm going to take a quick picture of this. Okay. All right, so speed sensors. Intermediate speed sensor A, input speed sensor, intermediate speed sensor B, output speed sensor. Okay, so all this pretty much can stay together. Now, we got to disconnect this MLP because we have to remove this to get this out here. So we're going to pull this lock, of course, push down and pull this out, no problem. What we can actually do, all right, so you know what? We'll take that out first. Okay. Let me just take a picture of how this linkage is. Okay. And when I put the new valve body in, it'll probably come with a sticker for me to put the new solenoid, the strategy, and the solenoid, the body ID. Solenoid body ID, solenoid strategy. So that, and then I'll go on to, I'll buy some time on Ford and I can go ahead and put that in. Okay, so what we're gonna do here is we have to release the tension. This thing has a lot of tension on it. Okay, so because this barrel spring, again, kind of like, you know, 6HP26. So there's no way we're gonna get this linkage out like that. So we gotta remove this piece. And what we're gonna do is get our pliers and we're gonna remove this roll pin. And then we can slide this out. That'll relieve the pressure on that. We can knock the roll pin out and take the linkage out. Again, because I can't wash up the case with that in there because this is the neutral switch here. All right, so let's see if we can just pick up on this. Okay, that's coming out, no problem. There's also O-rings on the end, on the back of this. Okay, so there is the roll pin. Now, we got to release. What we're going to do is we're going to release this. Okay. Got to get this out of the way. Okay, so this, you know what, we're going to have to leave this in here for the moment. So we're going to actually have to leave the harness in there for the moment because I'm going to have to remove everything to get this out of the way to get the harness out. So what we can do is take everything, the other bolts to remove the speed sensors. Here's a pull down bracket. Okay. I don't want to, I can probably swing this, but I don't want to, you know, it's very, very hard plastic. So what we'll do actually, all right, so we got all this out. It's very busy in here. And this will come out there. We're going to remove this piece. There's two tabs, one on the top, one on the bottom. So I want to push down on one, get that thing going, and then push that on the other one. Remove that piece. Okay, so I'm pushing down on the one tab, and I'll give it a little hit with the butt of the hammer. Okay, and I'm going to push on the other one, push up on it. Okay, give it a little tap, and out it comes. Okay, and here's this. Maybe I can snake it around. Okay, I can. All right. We're going to get this out anyway, but we'll do it later. All right, so here is the internal busy harness. Everything pretty much falls into place, not a big deal. All right, so now when we get the pump out, or the support, I keep saying the pump because that's what I'm used to saying, we're going to give it a little pry here and here in this area. Not here, because this is where the gear is. You don't want to damage anything there. See if we can get this thing to move. That was easy. Okay. Okay. We got the A clutch, we got the low sprig. B clutch is here. All right, so let's put this aside. And here's the B clutch. Now the B clutch is going to have these spacers in between. So let's get the clutch. It's going to have these spacers here in between each steel. Let's get this one out. And looks like pressure plate. Oh, there's more. Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is just going to pull this whole thing out. Let me just see if I can get this pressure plate out. Okay. All right. Now we're going to pull this whole thing out at once. Okay, that is out. I'm going to open that, and we got the planet. Okay, here we go. Washer here, a couple of rings here. All right, there's your, we got planet. And I'll tell you, the case is stripped. So let's get the other piece. Oil in there. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to move the parking pole out of the way. this out. Okay. Got a couple of O-rings here. Just stays in, I guess, you know, with the roll pin there. And then this, we have the tension pretty much relieved as much as we can get it. So now we got to knock the roll pin. Sprite just fell apart. All right, so this, I got the arm. The arm is still on. Let me just zip this off so this thing will come back a little further and the tension will be released. Okay, that's probably going to be about 12. Let me just find my 12. Is it maybe a 13? All right, let me just get my 12. Okay. And there we go. So now that the tension is released, let me get the knock out the roll pin. Give me 1 second. Okay. You could probably even actually knock the roll pin out before you take all this apart. But let's get this ready to go. Okay, it's out. Here's the roll pin. So now we can just slide this out and slide this out. Okay, let's put this back in. And there we go. Okay, so now the case is stripped. So let me get rid of the case and set up this big cylinder. We'll take that apart. And then we can take the you know, the A clutch, take a look at that. We'll take the cover off the front. You can see the gears. Just give me a few minutes. Let me get set up for that. All right, so I'm going to take this cylinder apart here. So we're going to get this snap ring out. You don't need a special tool like you need with the 8-speeds. The snap ring will just pretty much come right out. It might actually, this may drop as I pull the snap ring out. No, it did not. Okay, so now we're going to take the planet out. Okay, here's the P1, P2 sun gear, or P1 sun gear, I'm sorry. Okay, so this has to go, there's a bearing here, so this can only really go one way, which is this way. And you got a bearing here, washer here. Okay, now let's get the sun gear out of the P2. Okay, this pretty much is the same on both sides. All right, here's the P2 plant. You want to be very careful with this because this has a magnetic ring that the speed sensor reads. So be very careful with this. Okay, you want to get a bearing out. All right, now we're going to lift this out. Okay, we also have a bearing here that came from here that goes onto this planet. So this can really only go one way, never fit that way, so it goes here. Okay, and here is the big cylinder and the F clutch. Here is your F clutch here, and that rides in here, and sometimes this thing gets beat up. This actually is pretty good. I did buy one. It's about $100 from Ford because I didn't want to have to wait for it. It took me a couple days to get. So this one actually doesn't look too bad. I'm going to look at it after it's all clean Like I said, I do have it, so just for $100, I just might as well change it. And it has the ring gear on the back. I got to look in the instructions in the ATSG manual to see if this ring gear has to go on a certain way. I heard, I don't know if it's with the 10R80s, but if it's possibly put in wrong, it could be a vibration, but this is something I am going to have to research, but I didn't want to mention that because I heard that. Okay, so we're going to put this back here, and we're going to lift this out. This is the CDF clutch drum. This is the problem drum here. Looks like this might have been rubbing a little bit, but there is no washer there. All right, here's the E. So we got to get one snap ring. This will come out. And we're going to get the next snap ring. And then this will come out. Okay, kind of looks like a 8-speed setup. So here is your shell. And then to get this out of the input shaft, there is a ring, a snap ring, a little bit of a, kind of like a really sharp scribe to get this thing out, but you can. Just work it around. O-rings with a clutch, so we'll put this aside. These, there's also a video on how to air check this shaft because there's plugs in here, and the plugs can come out of place and cause shifting problems. As a matter of fact, I belong to a site called Transmission Brotherhood, and I put on about the codes that I was having, and somebody wrote back and said, make sure you check your input shaft because he had the exact same codes and that was his problem. So I'm going to watch a video on that and make sure the air blows out certain holes that it's supposed to. So you have to really check these input shafts as well. All right, so here is this here. All right, so this we can look at after. Okay, here's the planet with the shell. So this is the and this is where it gets screwed up. When that sleeve moves, this one maybe didn't move, but I'm changing it anyway. It screws up the bottom ring here. But, you know, this thing came right out, but all this is going to be changed anyway. The rings, that is. All right, so this is the C, the D, and the F. All right, so let's take a look at these clutches here. I'm going to check out the F clutch. All right, so yeah, he's a little burnt here. You know, steels don't look too bad, but the clutches definitely look like they're discolored. Okay. All right, so now check the F clutch just to get the clutches out. There's a bunch of snap rings that hold all this stuff together. Okay, so we got to get this snap ring out first. Okay, so there's one. Then they have a spacer. And that's two. And then there's another one to hold the clutches down. It's three. Okay, so this is the first one, second one, third one. Those are in order that I took it. Okay, so let's use these. Okay, not bad. You know, they all kind of look a little off here. A little discolored. Steels don't look too bad. All right, and the C drum. Okay, that's that. wasn't really looking at the camera. I kind of hope you guys saw these things. You know, but the clutches don't look too bad. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this over to the foot press. I'm going to take this snap ring out so we can see this clutch here. Okay, so I'm going to get the bearing off. So I'll do that, and then we're going to look at the A clutch. We'll talk about that. All right, so just give me 2 seconds here. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the snap ring out. I'm going to get the balance piston. Well, let's take the whole piston and balance piston out. That'd probably be easier. Okay. Should come. No problem. So there's a molded piston I'll be replacing, and this will come out. Here's the balance. Okay. So this will get the new seal. This piston is going to be replaced. And here is the return spring. Okay. And here are the clutches and steels. Okay, that's that. All right. Got some seals in here going to be changed. But other than that, looks pretty good. And I got a bearing here. I'm just going to leave that. Most of the stuff I'm just going to wash up by hand. Okay, so that's that. Okay, now we have the A clutch. So this snap ring I really can't get out because it has these, there's no return springs on it. It has these in the A clutch pretty thick to keep, you know, to return and keep the steels apart, and after it applies it'll return, and the snap ring is kind of like an L shape also. So this actually has to be pushed down in order for that to come out. So what I did with the tool, I made a tool. Let me just grab it over here. So I saw this, they made it for the 10R80s. This is a 4L60E shell, and I bent the tabs in, and it'll fit perfect right over here like that. So I just got to find the opening, and the opening, the snap ring can only go one way because there's kind of like a lug right here, so the snap ring opening has to go in between. All right, so I'm just going to put you guys on hold, and what I'll do is I'll put this on. Okay, so so what I'm going to do is try to push this snap ring out here, but I got to put this in a press and press this thing down. All right, so give me a few minutes. I'm going to do that. I'll be right back. Okay, so I got the snap ring out. Pops out fairly simple, as you could see. It's like, you know, like an L shape. And again, you got to put it in that spot in between. The opening has to go in between this lug here, and this has pretty heavy in between each clutch and steel. So let's get these out. Okay, so these are the A's. All right. We'll go there. And here is the blow sprig. So we'll pull that out. There's your sprig there. Okay, you got a bearing and stuff in here. And now this, as you can see, is just a molded piston. Okay, there is no return spring because of these thick wavies in between the steels. So it's just molded piston. Okay. I'm going to flip this over. We're going to take this snap ring out. You got two snap rings here. You got this one that holds it in, and then you got the one that holds in the front seal. But let's just see if we can get this one out for now. And then we could take the little bolt out and pop that piece up. Because I'm going to be changing this piece anyway. It comes in the overhaul kit. Push it over. Okay, there we go. That out, and of course the opening, goes from here. So the opening's butt against there. So there's a 7mm there. Okay. And let's see if we can get this thing out. So here's like the seal, again, this front seal will go in here. I'm going to take this snap ring out so I can swap it over. That snap ring should come right out. Okay, so this whole thing is going to be changed anyway. And here are the gears also that drive the pump. This one will come out. This stays centers when you put that piece in. Okay, so this tab will face up. And then you have like the idler here on the bearing. And for what I understand, on the GM version of this, which is called a 10L80, you got a noise. It's more than likely this bearing went bad if you got a noise coming from like the area of the pump in the trans. Okay, so that's that. And then we have another snap ring here, and I have another tool that I use on this E4OD shell that I kind of made, and I use it for other things as well. You get that snap ring out. This snap ring will pop right out, but to put it back in is not so easy. So there's that. There's that. And then the piston will come up. All right. So that's that. So that's really about it for now. So I'm going to take this kind of step by step. What I'll do is I'll overhaul the E-clutch, put it aside. I'm going to set up the new CDF clutch drum, get that done, put that aside. Valve body I have a new cylinder, I'll probably just change. So overall, it's really not a bad transmission to do. So this here, with this CDF clutch drum, a lot of the problems with this transmission is this clutch drum. So there's a metal thing here. I'm gonna knock out. You just kind of hit it around, knock it out. Then you gotta push this down with that tool I made. Get the snap ring out on the inside. That'll take that out. And then you push this down, take the snap ring out here. Push this down, take the snap ring. Okay, so here's a spacer for the clutches here that just drops in. All right, so I got the valve body in a big box, but I could show you the other stuff that I have so far. Give me a few minutes, I'll be right back. Okay, so this drum I ended up getting from my supplier TransStar. That is their part number. When there's a D in front of it, that means dealer, and this is the CDF clutch drum. This is the updated one, so they made a change to the sleeve, and now the sleeve cannot move anymore, because it was a huge, huge problem. So they updated this drum. So again, regardless, even if that drum, if I found another problem, say my problem, you know, was the E-clutch was burned out, and that drum was perfect, it's still going in the garbage and getting this. All right, so this is a new updated drum, absolute must, 100%. Okay, here is the cylinder. I received this today. And a lot of times inside here, where the F clutch rides, gets all scarred up, you know, gets all peened up. So I wouldn't want the clutches to hang up, so I'll probably wind up changing this thing anyway because I have it. Okay, so that's that. Now here is my friction module and my Trans-Tech kit with pistons. And so here is this piece that, you know, is going to house the front seal. And my Trans-Tech kit. Here are my seals, and my pistons are here. Pistons are here for the A and the E. So the only thing that is a little challenging with this, but I gotta wait for the tool, because the 10R80 is the most popular one. So a lot of people are making tools for the ring sizers for the 10R80s, but the 10R60, I understand from the research I had, is different, and that is for these rings here, this ring here, these rings here. You know, a lot of it is, and they're solid, so there are people that I know that make the tools for the 10R80, so when I contacted them and told them, hey, I got a 10R60 to do, they said, we don't have, I don't have any tools for that yet. And when I looked it up, the only people I can get the tools from is a company called Rotunda that makes them for Ford. And they're plastic ring resizers, and I think the entire kit was about $1,200. So what I'll probably do, I mean, I can, you know, stretch the ring around, I can use a hose clamp and then fit it to where it goes. It just takes me a little time, but it's doable. So I'll probably wind up doing something like that. But, you know, since I didn't really find a smoking gun here, I do have to check this input shaft. I want to watch the video and test this input shaft to make sure the air is coming out where it's supposed to be. You know, make sure that like no air comes out of the top. I think just the TCC comes out of the top, and the other one, the air should not be coming out. But I'm going to rewatch that video and air check this because I remember the guy had said he had the same codes, and this was his problem. You know, a lot of people think the common thing with everything on this transmission is the CDF clutch drum, but this particular one, the input shaft was his problem. So got to double and triple check all that. I don't have any problems when I put this thing back together. So that's it. So it'll be my first rebuild on a 10R60. 2020 Ford Explorer was not shifting correctly, had codes present for friction element apply time. And I'm gonna do this thing up, new parts from Ford, other parts from Trans-Tech. Converter is going to be picked out. Let me show you the converter actually. Converter is going to be picked up by my local rebuilder tomorrow for a rebuild. This is the torque converter out of that pretty beefy thing. That's getting picked up tomorrow. And that's it. So I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, first 10R60. I try to be as thorough as I can, but as I keep getting into 10R60s, the 10R80s, the 10L80s, you know, we can get into a little more in depth. But I'll probably be building this over the week when I'm by myself, so I can just kind of do one drum at a time, rebuild it, and put it aside, build it, put it aside, do the pump.
All right, so I am in the middle of rebuilding this Tower 60, and I did change this cylinder because the F clutch, where the F clutch rides, it was a little beat up. And again, it's cheap enough. It's about $100. So I elected to change it, and there's a lasered mark here on the cylinder and a lasered mark here on the ring gear, and you have to line these two up when you put the ring gear into the new cylinder, or there will be a vibration. They said it'll be off balance, it'll be a vibration. So there's two marks. You just got to look for them. This one's, you know, I know you can't see it, but this one has the dot on it, and this one you can't see because I actually had to look for this just to make sure after I took the ring gear off. So just make sure you line those two up and you'll be in good shape. All right, so once again, thanks for watching.